Yeah, very disappointed in the fact that we did not get off to a better start. I heard Coach say here just a minute ago he felt that was the best half of football they played all year long. I certainly expected my football team to come out here and play with a little more focus, a little more intensity there in the first half, execute a little bit better. We did not tackle well in the first half on defense. And I thought that was my biggest concern because I anticipated us being able to defend their run a lot better than we did. Offensively in the first half, we did play against a very inspired Old Dominion defense. I knew they would be based on the circumstances from a week earlier. Made some throws there in the first half, but really had no legitimate fortune running the football. Which was a disappointment to me. So I just have to say that our rush defense in the first half and then our inability to really run the ball in the first half kind of set a tempo for the game that was not real conducive for us to be successful. Now, it is what it is. I mean, it's a tale of two halves. The second half, I thought our guys made a legitimate run. I thought we legitimately put ourselves back in the game. And in theory, we're a play away from having a chance to even the score. So there is some, positive to that, but it doesn't diminish or erase the feeling you have at halftime. I mean, that's a bad feeling. So it's a humbling game. I mean, that's the nature of, college football. I give Coach Bobby a lot of credit. His guys, played hard. They were physical. They came to play. You guys know better than me that this quarterback for them is special. He's got great touch, great presence, and he was very, very difficult to get on the ground. I mean, for all the different things that continue to grasp my attention with him is how hard he is to get him on the ground. We never really got a legitimate opportunity to wrap them up and get them on the ground back there. So that therein lies, I think, a big part of their success. My guys fought hard, got back into it. I preached all week long that we're going to win this thing at the end. We all talked about, one more play, one more first down, one more 3 and out, one more stop on defense. And things started to move in that direction there at the end. Couldn't get that last stop that would have got the ball back for our offense. John was really on there in the second half and had some guys really make some plays for us in the second half. Doug Howell's interception run back for touchdown was probably the single biggest play of the game from our perspective. Then Ben had some big plays there in the second half also. So long and short of it is, got a conference loss to a very, very good football team, and we got to come together and move forward. Get more speed on the field. You take a big body out and you move a player like Doug onto the lineup. It also allowed us to take a player like B.J. Scott and make him an end. So just in theory, we were getting faster at linebacker when Doug went into play for a guy like B.J. Then we got faster at end, when B.J. went in there and played for Jacob. And then the other thing it did, now again, we don't have a whole lot of results to show for it, so it's just conversation. But the other thing it did was it allowed us to rotate just 3 linemen instead of 4. And the reality is those are the guys that get fatigued the fastest against this style of offense. So instead of having 4 hands on the ground and having to have 8 guys to be too deep, we played with 3 defensive linemen. So Coach Beelan was running 3 new ones in and out all game long as units. So we had a little more energy, a little more juice in there. We had some penetration. Fulham was in the backfield a couple times, and obviously Carey was back there a couple times flashing at the quarterback. Just never got him on the ground. And then, why didn't we blitz more? Well, we went after him a couple times, and the one time we got beat right down the seam. And, it's tough. It's tough. These guys are so sound in their protection because of what they spend their time doing. It's hard to get to. So they know their matchups. They know where they want to go with the ball. We got caught in blitz one time, and Reggie got beat, down the seam for a big chunk of yards, and that's not a good way to go down. So, but the 3-3 personnel offered a little more speed, offered a little more coverage. You can drop 8 a little easier than you can when you have 4 hands on the ground. But we never got any rhythm in the first half. Second half, things started to look like I was hoping they would look like when we practiced and prepared. Well, we had a number of things that we wanted to get done in this game, and what we were able to do in the second half, out of necessity, was really open up the offense. We had designed to do that kind of regardless of how the game would have played out, but it just forced us to do it in that circumstance. Obviously, I wanted to control the ball in the first half with a run game. It really was non-existent statistically there in the first half. So that was disappointing, and it kind of put us into this other mode. Let's face it, we played the majority of the fourth quarter, end of the third quarter in a 2-minute mode with a jet procedure up on the ball. And we got some guys that can make some plays in the passing game. And, John continues to show that he can do it. He's making all the throws he's got to make. He's making good decisions. He had one play today I'm sure we'd like to have gotten back, but, who doesn't have that? So I don't know if I answered your question specifically, but, in theory, the nature of the game changed. We had to be a little more on an attack mode. We had to abandon some of the run and start getting that ball thrown down the field, and we ended up, getting some chunks of yards and gaining some momentum.
The most important thing that Coach Rocco mentioned after the game was that when we want to be really good, we can be really good, and I think that's the most important thing that we take away from today. And this offense is maturing, and I know the defense, it wasn't the best day that they've had, but I have all the respect in the world for our defense. And the message for this week is we got to move on. Tomorrow's a new day. We got to prepare for Villanova.
I think as much as anything, it was, a barometer as to where we are. We had a couple good weeks here in a row, leading into this game. Obviously, everyone knows this. This is a good football team. We played out here today, Old Dominion. They were nationally ranked and doing a lot of things statistically. So, how were we going to match up? How were we going to be able to compete? And again, I'll be honest with you. I know coaches say this, and you guys have a hard time, buying it. I got to watch the film a little bit to just really identify who and what. Who really was competing out there. And, what were we doing that we need to do better specifically? Because like I said earlier, it's a tale of two halves, and both teams sent out the same teams in the second half that they had out there in the first half, but the game played was entirely different. And obviously they beat us to the punch today, and they were able to play with a lead, and it allowed them to close out and get the result that they wanted to have.